You can feel it in ordinary moments, not in grand speeches, but in the way your body relaxes when their name appears, in the way a hard day feels softer after one honest conversation, in the way you stop performing and start breathing. That is usually where a healthy relationship begins to reveal itself. Not through intensity, through steadiness, not through guessing games, through clarity. And if you have ever wondered whether calm love is real, this is for you. Because healthy love can feel almost unfamiliar when you are used to confusion. Sometimes we mistake anxiety for chemistry, because unpredictability creates a rush that feels powerful. But real safety has its own kind of spark, and it lasts longer than a moment. So by the end, you will know what healthy love actually looks like in everyday life. The first sign is that you can be honest without feeling punished for it. You can say you felt hurt, tired, awkward, jealous, or unsure, and the conversation does not become a battlefield. That does not mean every talk is easy, because even good relationships have friction, bad timing, and emotional blind spots. It means honesty is treated like information, not betrayal, and that changes everything. When someone cares about the relationship itself, they do not just react to your tone. They try to understand the feeling underneath it. That is a quiet kind of love people often overlook. It is less dramatic than passion, but it is much more sustainable. You know those moments when you rehearse a sentence 10 times before saying it. In a healthy relationship, that fear slowly starts to loosen. You learn that truth does not automatically create distance. It can create closeness. And here's what is beautiful about that. When honesty feels safe, both people stop spending energy on self-protection and start investing it in connection instead. The second sign is consistency. Not robotic sameness. Not a relationship that never changes mood. Consistency means their care is recognizable across different days, different stresses, and different seasons. They do not become a stranger the moment life gets busy. They do not disappear when feelings become inconvenient. You are not constantly trying to decode whether today is a warm day or a cold one. That matters more than people think. Because the nervous system trusts patterns before it trusts promises. Anyone can sound loving in a perfect moment. The deeper question is what they're like after a long day, during a misunderstanding, or when you need patience twice. Consistency is what turns affection into security. It teaches you that care is not something you must earn fresh every morning. And if you have ever been attached to someone unpredictable, this part can feel almost suspicious at first. Calm may seem boring when your heart has been trained to chase emotional weather. But what feels less thrilling can actually be more intimate. Because steadiness gives love room to grow roots. The third sign is that conflict leads somewhere useful. Healthy couples are not couples who never argue. They are couples who know how to return to each other after a rupture. There is a big difference between winning an argument and protecting a relationship while having one. In unhealthy dynamics, conflict becomes a contest for power, innocence, or emotional control. In healthy ones, conflict becomes a search for understanding, repair, and clearer boundaries. That means fewer character attacks and more specific language. Less, "You always ruin this." More, "I felt alone when that happened." That shift sounds small, but it changes the emotional temperature of everything. It keeps both people inside the problem instead of turning each other into the problem. Here's the twist most people miss. Repair matters even more than perfection. A genuinely healthy relationship is not built by never messing up. It is built by noticing the hurt, taking responsibility, and coming back with care. If this sounds familiar, you can say so in the comments, because more people need to hear that healthy love can repair. Most people are not looking for flawless love. They are looking for love that can recover. The fourth sign is that you feel respected even when you disagree. Respect is one of those words people use so often that it can start to sound abstract. But in real relationships, it is incredibly practical. It shows up in how someone speaks to you when they are frustrated. It shows up in whether your no is accepted without pressure, sulking, or punishment. It shows up in whether your time, your values, your friendships, and your individuality are treated as real. Respect means you do not have to shrink just to keep the peace. You do not have to become easier, quieter, prettier, less ambitious, or more agreeable to stay lovable. The relationship can hold two full people. That is healthier than any version of romance that asks one person to disappear. A lot of people were taught that love means endless compromise. But healthy love does not ask you to betray yourself in order to prove devotion. It invites flexibility without erasing identity. And this is where many people suddenly recognize their own pattern. If you feel safest when you are convenient, that is not peace. That is self-abandonment, wearing a polite face. The fifth sign is emotional generosity. This is the ability to give each other the benefit of the doubt before jumping to the worst conclusion. It is what happens when someone pauses long enough to wonder, maybe they were overwhelmed, not uncaring. Maybe that short reply was stress, not rejection. Maybe this awkward moment needs curiosity before judgment. Healthy relationships are not built on mind reading. They are built on generous interpretation paired with honest clarification. That does not mean ignoring red flags or excusing repeated disrespect. It means not turning every human imperfection into evidence that love is doomed. Emotionally generous people do something powerful. They leave room for reality. And reality is that good people can be messy, distracted, tired, or clumsy while still being deeply loving. Think about the difference between these two responses. One person says, "You took too long to text back, so clearly I do not matter." The other says, "I noticed I felt anxious waiting, and I want to talk about it." Same feeling. Completely different relationship outcome. That is what emotional maturity looks like in motion. The sixth sign is that your life gets bigger, not smaller, inside the relationship. A healthy relationship supports connection, but it does not swallow your entire identity. You still feel like yourself. You still have your thoughts, your people, your interests, your private inner world. Love becomes part of your life, not the only proof that your life matters. This is such an important distinction, because unhealthy love often feels consuming in the beginning. It can seem romantic when someone wants all your time, all your attention, all your emotional oxygen. But over time, that kind of closeness can become control, dependency, or quiet resentment. Healthy love is different. It cheers for your wholeness. It is proud of the version of you that exists outside the relationship too. When someone genuinely loves you well, they are not threatened by your growth. They want to know who you are becoming. And if you have ever felt guilty for needing space, friendship, or solitude, hear this clearly. A need for breathing room is not a sign you love less. It can be a sign the relationship is healthy enough to hold two separate nervous systems. The seventh sign is that care goes both ways. Not in a perfectly measured scorekeeping kind of way, but in a felt sense that effort is shared. You are not the only one initiating repair, planning connection, asking hard questions, or carrying the emotional weight. Mutuality is one of the clearest signs that a relationship is truly alive. Because love is not only a feeling. It is participation. It is responsiveness. It is both people leaning in. Sometimes this shows up in simple ways. They check in after your important day without being reminded. They notice when your energy drops. They remember the conversation you had last week and return to it with care. These moments may look small from the outside, but they send a powerful internal message. I am not alone in this relationship. And that message changes the way love feels in your body. Here's something else worth noticing. In healthy love, support does not create debt. Kindness is not stored away to be weaponized later. Help is not followed by hidden invoices. Care is given because the relationship matters, not because leverage is being collected. That kind of generosity creates trust you can actually rest inside. The eighth sign is that the relationship helps you become more honest with yourself. This might be the deepest sign of all. A healthy relationship does not just feel good when things are easy. It reveals you to yourself in a loving way. It shows you where you still fear abandonment, where you overgive to feel secure, where you shut down instead of speaking, where you expect disappointment before connection even has a chance. And instead of using those tender places against you, healthy love helps bring them into the light. Not to shame you, to free you. This is one reason good relationships can feel so emotional. Not because they are toxic, but because real safety exposes old defenses. When love is steady, the parts of you built around survival finally become visible. That can be uncomfortable. It can also be deeply healing in an ordinary human way. You start to notice that closeness is no longer just about being chosen. It is about being known without having to hide so much. So what do all 8 signs have in common? They all create emotional safety without killing emotional depth. That is the real myth to let go of. Healthy relationships are not flat, dull, or passionless. They can be playful, magnetic, tender, funny, and deeply alive. They are simply missing one ingredient many people were taught to mistake for love: chronic instability. When chaos is removed, connection becomes easier to feel. And that can be surprisingly confronting if chaos once felt familiar. If you're noticing that healthy love feels quieter than what you are used to, do not rush to dismiss it. Sometimes peace feels strange before it feels safe. Sometimes being treated well takes practice. Sometimes your heart needs time to learn that calm is not the absence of chemistry. It is the presence of trust. And trust is not built in one magical moment. It is built in dozens of ordinary moments that say the same thing. I am here. I mean what I say. You do not have to twist yourself into someone else to be loved by me. That is what a genuinely healthy relationship starts to sound like. Not perfect. Not performative. Just honest, respectful, mutual, and emotionally safe enough for real intimacy to grow. So if your relationship has these signs, protect them. Notice them. Name them. Healthy love gets stronger when we learn to recognize it while we are living it. And if you are still looking for this kind of relationship, let this be your reminder. The right love does not only excite your heart, it also lets your nervous system exhale. If this gave words to something you have felt, subscribe and stay with us for more honest conversations about love. Because the healthiest relationships rarely look dramatic from the outside. But on the inside, they feel like being deeply seen and gently met. And that kind of love is real. It is possible, and you deserve to recognize it when it arrives.